Hi, my name is Paulino Brenner, and here is Elena Mutonono. How are you?
Yay! I am excited and exhausted.
Yes, the Online Teacher Summit 2019 came to an end, and we are here to give you some closing thoughts. Mainly, Elena is going to give you some closing thoughts. But we also prepare a little nuggets from the summit that we want to share with you. So while we are waiting and you see these nuggets, please feel free if you're watching live to say where you're from, say hi in the comments, and also invite other people to this closing party. Let's make it fun. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Elena, are you ready? Okay.
Yay!
See
This
you
is
see you
cool.
see you everyone in a few minutes.
Now, all these questions are legitimate and they happen, but they are not necessarily the ones that are going to help you niche down. Why? If you just choose a trend without putting your passion into it, you're not going to convince people to buy from you because people will feel that you're fake. If you're talking about something that you're not passionate about, you're not going to be convincing. And so they're not going to buy from you.
Actually, the niche at first, yeah, I was kind of thinking of something else, which probably I was not too excited about it, but just because I thought, yeah, okay, this could be popular, or
Yeah.
many students.
In demand. This will be in demand.
Yeah, but it wasn't really something that got me excited.
Right.
And this Camino thing, it had been at the back of my mind before because I've had students who were doing it or had done the Camino and then joined the Spanish class because they felt they would have done better with some Spanish. So yeah, I said, okay, I'll give it a try. There's no harm. It can't be worse.
Right. You can incorporate their favorite mode of learning to boost motivation. So, for example, Kara, who I interviewed for one of the stories for the summit, and you will watch the story, she helps people with their listening, but her ideal client are the people that love movies. So they watch movies, they watch series in particular, and that's how they are learning and they're improving their language without really making much of an effort, and that's what boosts their motivation. So Kara used her expertise and her understanding of her ideal client to create something that people will enjoy. Anna Lamastro, who I will interview as well, she and you will watch her interview, she used a different mode. She appeals to people that love reading classics and classical literature. So that boosts their motivation. For a moment, they forget that they're learning the language because they're doing something that really motivates and inspires them.
Well, I think it's important to choose something that you like doing.
Mhm.
That's a good place to start. Think about the lessons that you've enjoyed doing. And when I did that, I thought that I really enjoyed when I discussed and read novels, particularly classic novels, when we talked about the vocabulary and also about the themes. And I really enjoyed that. So I started from there.
So sometimes what people say they want is not the same thing as what they actually are really struggling with or really want.
And if I could just interject something in here, and that's why I'm going to tailor or you tell me what you want and I will help you out is probably not the best marketing strategy.
Yeah, because people won't.
Students.
Yeah, I think people have a hard time articulating what they want. I mean, you can ask them what they're doing, what they think they want, but I always think about what Henry Ford said. He said if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
If you want to build a ship, don't drum up people to collect wood, and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. When you set out there online to create your audience, you build your community of people that think um, about and care about the same things. They resonate and they gather around the same values. It's really important to communicate with them, not about the technical stuff. And I'm talking here about language because a lot of people, that's what they do, word of the day, phrase of the day, this of the day. But to awaken in them the longing for the things that the language can help them accomplish.
And hello again. I'm Paulino Brenner, the previous host of the Online Teacher Summit, and now have the new host of the Online Teacher Summit, Elena Mutonono. So, how are you doing?
Like I said, I'm really excited about the event and I'm really exhausted.
Yes.
Also not present today is the co-host, Veronica Palowska, and that's because it's too late in the other part of the world where she is, and she's just taking it easy. She has earned it.
Yes. So I just want to say thank you for everyone who's joining us live. Please feel free to share some comments or thoughts about the summit, or if you have any questions as well, you can do it in the comments. But if you're watching the recording, you can also do that as well. I'm going to prove that we are live. I'm going to say hello to Amina and Maria Lucia from Italy. So
Hey.
they just say hi. So I wanted to say hi back. But if you're watching the recording, feel free to leave a comment as well. We always love to hear from people who joined our summit. So, Elena, congratulations, you made it.
Yeah, I know. I made it to the end. It almost didn't feel like I was going to with all the stuff that had to be done, but it's really exciting. And it's also super exciting to see the crowd of online language teachers. Everybody's so passionate about what they do and now on fire about building their brands, getting themselves out there, putting their websites together, talking about how they can change the world through teaching languages. So that's amazing.
That's great. That's great. We started last year with the idea of taking action, and now people are taking action. So I love it. I love it. Let's talk about some of your faves. So I have several faves to ask you about. So let's start with your favorite moments. What were some of your favorite moments during the summit?
The most favorite, other than the, me completely missing the live Q&A because I had 15 reminders on my phone and I totally ignored them. So other than that, it was least favorite. Let's talk about the most favorite, of course. Meeting people like Hanneke and Jill Andrews, who were sharing from the wealth of experience. There was like I think big benefits for people. Um, First of all, these people are not in our industry, which is really helpful when you get people that come from the outside that work with copywriters, website designers, etc., and they give you some tips that actually they've seen work in more competitive industries. So that's really good, I think, especially like we just had a Q&A with Hanneke, and that was amazing. She talked about blogging, how long should you blog, how short, what do you need to know about your audience, etc. Of course, Jill was a wealth of knowledge on copywriting, how to structure your sales page, where to put your button, where not to put your button, why you should put and not put the button, whether you should have round button or, like all those tiny little things, details
Very
that you don't think
specific.
about it. And people loved the fact that it was really specific and to the point. She also addresses the whole idea of mistakes, most common mistakes. I gave her a load of websites to look through in our industry. She'll look through them and she said, okay, this is what happens. This is why this is not going to work. This is why this is not going to sell, and whether or not to follow gurus and big guys and all that, and why that not all blueprints work and you have to use your mind and your knowledge. Giving a really flexible formula for a sales page that very few of us are aware of. So that was super helpful. And for people that are overwhelmed, they're like, okay, I'm just starting on Instagram. Should I put together my huge website? And so she gave like really simple ideas of what people can do at the moment. She says, yes, ideally it would be great if you had everything, but nobody does it, right? So she said, here's your minimum that you can do, which was really doable and lowered people's stress levels. So another big favorite is, of course, like the interviews with teachers that are on the journey that started 2 years ago with the first online teacher summit. And for me to be able to interview, not of course all of them, but some of them, and for me to be able to interview them and for them to say, okay, this is where we started, this is how we picked our niche, this is how we narrowed, this is wow, we sold a big thing, and that was really amazing to interview them and to get some of their insights into, what it looks like when you actually run a business. And really, so much love and encouragement poured on me and Veronica from social media. Um, we loved it because we really needed it. We had this whole like computer in our heads what we had to do. And because we were doing it for the first time and we had made so many changes, it was kind of like they say in Russian, your first pancake is always clumpy. And so that's exactly what it was. But I really liked how people connected with each other and seeing them in social. We had just a social yesterday saying to each other, I'm going to call you or I'm going to connect with you. That's really amazing.
Yeah, and that's a great picture. You mentioned all the different aspects, from the interviews to the
Mhm.
connection among participants to the backstage with technology. It's a little bit of a headache. I know a lot about that when I did my first summit by
Oh,
myself. It's
yes.
like I can do this. Oh my God! So it was a big, big job. So that's a great picture of everything that happened in these days. And what are some, you mentioned a few tips and takeaways, but what would you say maybe a couple of big takeaways or favorite takeaway for you?
Yeah, for, from the standpoint of a participant, some of the takeaways were I can do it. So that was like my main goal. How sometimes we go to summits or attend conferences and we feel, on the one hand, so encouraged, on the other hand, so paralyzed. Now we know all this. What are we going to do with this? So the fact that we included interviews with real teachers with their messy stories and what they tried and what worked and didn't work,
Hmm.
I think really gave people enough resolve to say, I think I can do it. If Barbara could do it, I can do it. If Trisha could do it, I can do it. So that kind of camaraderie where you don't just look up at people that are farther ahead in the journey, but people that are, just started it a year or 2 years ago. So that was one of them. And some of the participants have said that now they're going to start their social media. They have more clarity. People in the forum asked me about niching, so I helped niche down and give some ideas to people about that. So I think that's really helpful to have that kind of resource. And I think it's almost like this several online courses plus a huge community, over a short period of time. I think that is one of, something that you can take away with you. These are the
Exactly.
connections that you won't make anywhere else. I mean, it will take you forever to get to know each person. I've known Henneke for almost 2 years through social media, and now some people just met her on this summit and they can ask her a question right there in the forum. How amazing is that?
Mhm.
So just creating these shortcuts for people so they can ask her questions. And
And that's one of the main reasons that I started with the Online Teacher Summit. The idea came about, it's like, me as an entrepreneur, how can I connect with other people beyond the small connections I had on
Mhm.
social media. And I had the experience to go in person to conferences, and I see the community that it gets created there.
Right.
And that's how it started. So I'm really glad that you have this same experience, because that's kind of like the impulse that
Mhm.
started the Online Teacher Summit. But so it's great that you've got to experience this community, but I also want to learn more about your personal experience and maybe you being in contact with Veronica and what she lived as a host. How did you go? Because we all grow in many different ways. So I'm sure there are a lot of things that happened to
Mm.
you as a host. So how was your personal experience?
I remember Brene Brown said that before her book tour, she always has like a week of self care and, yoga and spa and whatever. And I discovered that I mean, obviously, a week will be really hard, but giving yourself some time before an event like that to just completely unplug and be with yourself, that's what I'm taking away from me.
Mhm.
Now, this was our first time, and we used several new um, software solutions that we were not really um, familiar with. And so there was a steep learning curve. There was a lot of social media, and we did almost no um, advertising. So it was all word of mouth. So I guess for me, never to underestimate that, which I
That's
will get to it in a second. But really, giving yourself some time before this event, because we were coming in already tired, and I'm like, oh man, another 4 days. So for me as an entrepreneur, whenever, and for others who are launching anything, you're going to launch stuff. Maybe the first time it won't happen, but the second time you really need to think about, okay, I need a few days where I can just unplug and do my thing, go do a massage, yoga, whatever is your boat, rocks your boat. Just do that, because then you will come in refreshed. Um, and Another thing too is, in the beginning, and we tend to always think that, sometimes we launch a course and say, oh, I wish this big guy just talked about my course to his audience. And and then of course it doesn't happen, and you're like, oh, I don't. And then you do Facebook ads, and then that doesn't happen. So Facebook ads was definitely off the table because we had a lot of work to do anyway. So I was like, we're going to rely solely on word of mouth and social media and natural traffic. And we got to over 130 participants. So I think that was good because our goal was 100. But I found a really interesting thing because I had reached out to some big players to help us, and I found out that more people came actually from the smaller people. And it reminded me of what Guy Kawasaki in one of his books said, um, the nobodies are the new somebodies on social media.
Mm.
And so we sometimes feel like, oh, if only this big guy, talked about me, then I would, get the endorsement. But no, when you go approach the big guy, and the big guy has like a schedule for, 6 months on his social media, and like, oh, I can't put you in because, and then somebody says, well, what are you going to do for me? Can you do this for me? Can you do it this week? Well, I can't do it this week because, strategically, blah, blah, blah. And then because you are somebody's, or at least you have a following, you have a strategy, a business, you have your own plans. And I'm the same way. Like if somebody approaches me and say, can you promote it? I can promote it on, in a limited space, but I can't just go out and send a campaign because it was all pre-planned. And so when I moved away from it, I was like, okay, if you can't do it, that's fine. Then I went back to my community, and they're all online teachers. They're excited about it, and they are just building their businesses, and they don't mind sharing things that are not exactly on their agenda because it's not like they have a big agenda anyway. And that is the value of small people. And we always undermine that. I think we say to ourselves, well, what can, a Joe with 50 followers on Instagram do? do not underestimate Joe because he can do a lot more. So we had several teachers that went in smaller groups on Facebook and they posted, and we had like several sales as a result of that. Whereas we had bigger guys that posted and had zero return. So, and they even endorsed us. So it's always, I think it's a big relief to smaller people.
Yes.
Smaller people feel like, oh, nobody notices me. You already have something. And so in the summit, a lot of people connected with each other, and I think they will help each other out in many ways in the future.
Great. In talking about the summit itself, but thank you for sharing those insights as a host. As a previous host, I like to
Mhm.
hear those stories as well. But talking about the summit, I want to know more about the future of the summit. I handed this baby to you, and now I want to know how you're gonna fit it. Are you saving for college and all those kind of things?
Yeah, um, we are definitely going to continue. We plan to run another one next year in May, hopefully. And so stay tuned for updates. We do not know about the topic yet. I have some ideas, but we shall see where people are, what suggestions we'll get from feedback loop and from reviews, etc. So that is going to be exciting. I think focusing on one theme and making it super practical and actionable, I think has been helpful to people this year. I'm yet to hear from them, so we will continue in that. Um, Another thing that I'm contemplating, and it's not yet there in all details, I would really, really love to meet with people face to face. So I don't know how this is going to happen,
Hmm.
when, in what capacity it will be. Maybe we'll do like the first scrappy get together somewhere, and then we'll see how to make it more organized. Because, and especially we see it, for example, in my community that Veronica and I host, Smart Teacher Library, where we get we get so connected with people, and we have such deeper discussions, not just about business, but about the personal side. What if your partner doesn't support you, or what if your family thinks that you're
Mhm.
wasting your time, etc. So we get into like a lot of personal stuff, and at the end of such discussions, I actually want to just get out of my room and hug everybody, and
Mhm.
everybody's across the world. So we've had this on our heart already for a few months to do some actual real life meeting. So I don't know when it will happen, but I
Come to
really hope
Minneapolis. I'll
so.
share my rooftop with you. I have a perfect view from my rooftop.
Yes, yes. In that 1 week when you have summer, I will definitely come.
Yes, 1 week of summer, definitely. But 1 week and we'll do the
Yes,
summit
1 week. Yes, yes. We should do that. We should do it on the rooftop. It would be so cool.
there. Great. Well, I want you to have your deserved recover time, maybe some wine, some spa, or I know how it feels. There you are. There it is. I know
Chin
how ching
chin.
ching. I know how it feels. So I want you to have your recover time, but I really appreciate that you took this time to have some closing thoughts and also, to share with everyone because it was a success, and it makes me happy that you have this great experience and that people have this great experience and that you're planning to continue. So thank you so
Yay.
much.
Thank
Congratulations
you,
again.
Paulina. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you to everyone who's watching this live or recorded. Feel free to keep leaving comments and thoughts because Elena and I will keep reading. And until the next time,
Yay. Until next time. Thank you.
bye bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.